What's going on, Coach, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I really am. I'm excited about this opportunity. I'm looking forward to it, and I can't wait till we start getting ready for training camp. I mean, this whole process right now is probably the biggest thing that I'm looking at. I've got to finish putting the staff together, and then get those guys in place. Start communicating with our pro scouts, with our college scouts, and start talking about getting ready for free agency and then the draft. And before we know it, we'll be right in the middle of OTAs and mini camps.
Coach, as you went through your press conference, you talked about two coaches that I highly respect, both in Joe Gibbs and also Andy Reid. And you were there in those 3 years I was in Philadelphia, and I watched how Andy ran things and watched you do a lot of things in the same process. As I listened to you, I was getting fired up like I could play again. I'm 51. I won't be able to play. But, just that mindset that you have, that military mindset, and being able to motivate guys to do what you feel they need to do, how important is that?
I think that's very important because, again, if you come to a group of people and you tell them, hey, this is what our vision is, and at the end of the vision, this is the goal, this is how we're going to do it, this is our plan, okay, and now this is the process to accomplish it, and say these are the things that we've got to do. Let's go do it. You give yourself a better chance. But if you just get up and say, hey, man, let's go out and win some football games, okay, well, how are we going to do that? You leave too many things for chance. What we want to do is eliminate as much chance as possible and give these young men an opportunity to be successful.
The thing you talked about was not only having coaches, but having teachers. And I've always felt that's the most important thing. I've seen players come and go, and they never reach their full potential. And when you pick your coaches, are you looking for guys that you know can take a guy from being the beginning of a thing to get to level 8, level 10?
Absolutely. I mean, the biggest thing in terms of teachers is that, everybody can get up there and scream and yell and tell people where to go. But you got to be able to tell them why. Okay, if a player understands why, now he puts the rest of the puzzle together. He understands that, hey, the reason I'm doing this is because I got to eliminate that. So I've got to do my job to make sure I'm taking care of this. Once I take care of this, the other things take care of themselves. We've got to go through that process of making sure they understand the why. And that's what teachers do. They explain and they get things done. That's the thing that we have to do. If a guy's not going to teach as a coach now, I'm going to have to make decisions there. And, if I'm going to sit there and hold players accountable, I'm going to hold the coaches accountable. I'm going to hold myself accountable.
Coach, you mentioned Dwayne during your press conference, Mr. Haskins. How much did you scout him when you were with the Panthers? And if you can divulge, where did you have him rated?
Well, we had him rated as a first-round pick. I can tell you that much right now. But the biggest thing about going out there and looking at Dwayne and looking at his skill set, and looking at what he is capable of, got a good sense of that as we watched the last portion of the season. Unfortunately, he got hurt in the second to last game. I would love to see him finish that game up and then play in the last one. But there were some things that said, here's a young man that's growing and developing. And that's the huge plus. Anytime you see a guy start having success and getting confidence and building confidence in himself, I think that's excellent. I really do. And I think that that's the thing that he's done very well. He's built some confidence up. He's feeling himself, and he's got to understand now that the next step in his process of development is, again, what's he going to do in the offseason? Is he going to become that ultimate pro that's every time he gets into a workout, he's working to improve himself as a football player? I think he's got a tremendous skill set. He's a smart young man. He's shown it because he's learning what we do as a football team. And, again, we'll see.
Hey, most definitely. First of all, Coach, welcome home. Fred Smoot here. Welcome home. and you said you met with Dan for 35, 40 hours just talking football and talking about his vision. I want you to explain to the fans how much Dan cares and feels about this team and feels about winning.
Yeah, well, I think both of you guys know that because you've seen him, how much he anguishes over losing. So that tells you he wants to win. But that process that we went through really was great because it was about communications. At first we talked on the phone and those conversations were pretty long. And then we got an opportunity to sit down and meet. And that first day we went for I think about 8 hours straight before we took our first break. Met a little bit more in the evening. Got up the next morning, went right back to work. And it was really about, again, he opened up and explained to me what his vision was, what he was looking to create. And then we talked about what the plan was. And he talked about this coach-centric. And I really was intrigued by that. And then he talked about the process. So when I got back, the first person I reached out to was Coach Gibbs. And so Coach Gibbs and I sat there and we talked about what coach-centric meant. And he explained to me how it worked for him. And it was really about we've got to make sure that the powers that be in this organization, people that are at the top, we all have to come together, collaborate, talk about what needs to be done to give me, the head coach, the tools so that we can go out and win football games. It's not about giving me the ultimate power and say.
Yep.
It's about us talking about what has to be done to be put into place so that we can be successful as a team. Okay, and that's probably the one thing that I really appreciated, because the clarity I got after my conversation with Coach Gitt was tremendous. Then we went back, we met again, Mr. Snyder and I, and we talked about all these different things and different ideas, and I really kind of got a little bit more into my plan and how I felt we had to do things to give us a chance to improve and get better as a football team, and hopefully get back to those glory days that you guys were part of. You guys understand. You guys had a feeling for what it was as winning in your divisions. And I just think that there's so much history. I mean, it's this team that started in 1932.
Mm-hmm.
All these great players have played for it. All these great coaches have been part of it. I just think that we're in a position with a storied franchise that needs a little bit of a reboot, and I'm pretty excited about getting the opportunity to try and do that.
I'm excited that you're here, Coach. I want to thank you for taking the job. And I also had to say I changed your name. I know your nickname been Riverboat Run. I changed your name to Run Burgundy and Gold. What you think about this, Coach?
I'll tell you what, I saw that. That's pretty good. Now I got to give whoever came up with that with props now.
This is the Brian Mitchell Show, Team 980, Team 980 app, and 95.9 FM. We're talking to the new head coach of the Washington Redskins, Coach Ron Rivera, someone I believe is going to change this thing around. Coach, the question about Dwayne Haskins and also the offensive mindset, getting an offensive coordinator in, do you feel that continuity is key to getting a player to get to that next step?
I do. I really do. And trying to keep, things as similar to what they're doing right now is really one of the priorities I have. I've got a number of guys I'm interviewing, spending a lot of time with these guys. I've got a couple guys coming in. I've sat down with Kevin O'Connell. We've spent a lot of time as well. And again, I'm trying to listen. I'm trying to look at things, because continuity, not just for Dwayne, but look at those 3 young wide receivers that had excellent seasons. Look at what Darius Geis was able to do, when he's healthy and on the football field. I mean, that has to be taken into consideration. You just can't come in and start throwing hand grenades and blowing things up. One of the best things I learned about coming into someplace new is that you have to listen. Part of communication is listening. It's not telling and talking and demanding, but it's truly listening, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to listen to what's being said. I'm trying to understand what's going on, and the thing that I need to do more so than anything else is digest all this stuff. I'm not coming in just, like I said, throwing hand grenades. I'm trying to put the best teachers in position that's going to help our young football team.
Coach Ron Rivera joins us here on the Brian Mitchell Show, 95.9 FM, Team 980, Team 980 app. Coach, have you talked with Alex Smith at all? I know you mentioned Dwayne during the press conference, then you mentioned, quote-unquote, veteran quarterbacks. Have you talked to Alex about what his future may hold? Obviously, health a major consideration.
Absolutely, I have. He was one of the guys I reached out, mostly because he was a veteran and he was a little bit of a leader until the unfortunate circumstances. But knowing who he is and getting to understand what he's trying to do in terms of his comeback, I'm pretty excited, because this guy can be very inspirational to not just the people around him, but to the team, to these young players, that, hey, this is what it takes. People say, he may never do this again. Well, guess what? If he can do it, just think that what it tells everybody, that it's a little bit of hard work, a little bit of putting yourself to the task, you can give yourself that opportunity. I find that very impressive. So, again, we had a great conversation, and we'll see how things progress from him. But, I'll tell you right now, don't bet against him.
Coach, I know whenever you get a chance, there's some great golf courses here too. But your wife, Stephanie, I've talked to Stephanie many times, never knew she was assistant coach with the Washington Mystics. How much did she help you with knowing this area?
She's been very great through this entire process, and every time something came up, we sit there and we talk and we get into what it could potentially mean, and it was fun because she was with the Mystics when they first started, and they had a playoff run, and they were one of the few teams that sold out. I mean, they during the playoffs, they put something like 17,000 people in the stands. It was a really neat experience to see. So I know how rabid those fans can be. The neat thing for me, and as well, guys, because you've played in that stadium, when the crowd is going, that's a tough place to come play, and we've got to get our folks back in the stands.
Coach, did you get a chance to talk with Andy, and what kind of things and advice did he give you?
Andy's been great. He first reached out when things first happened, and the biggest thing Andy told me was, hey, keep your head up, keep working to get yourself ready, because it's going to happen quickly. And he wasn't kidding, because it happened very quickly in terms of having somebody reach out, having somebody say, hey, look, start studying this, pay attention to this, and let's talk. He was great, though. Coach has always been supportive, and he really, truly has been one of my mentors in life.
Coach, before we let you go, one more quick one. Thank you so much for being super generous with your time. The fans, and I heard you address this briefly, and you also said, look, I'd bet on me. But the fans have become, we talked to a lot of them during the week, fickle, despondent. They, they are starving for success and change. What do you have to say to those who may have bailed or considered bailing along the way?
Well, first of all, I empathize with them for feeling the way they do. But secondly, let's find out. Let's find out. And don't expect it to happen overnight. This is a process. It's going to take a little bit of time, okay? But we're going to go out and we're going to fight. We're going to give you a good game. And as we win football games, we're going to gather momentum. And as we gather momentum, we expect you to be there. And we're going to give you everything we got. I'm going to demand it of our players. We're going to try and put it out there so that they can appreciate the effort these guys are giving, because there's a lot of quality football players, and when these guys get humming, I think it's going to be a good football team.
Well, thank you, Coach, and I'm so excited. You got me going. I got tickets, and I'm about to buy some more season tickets.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate it, man. We really appreciate it. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
And I'll be over to check
Always
you out,
good
man.
to talk to you.